Alright, so my name's Daniel. I've been asked to come along and just share a bit of my testimony, and I find the best way to start's at the beginning, I suppose. So, you know, I grew up in a godly household with Christian parents. Both my parents were deeply involved in the church, you know. My mum led worship, my father played on the drums and was part of the pastoral team. And yeah, so growing up, I knew God, I knew Jesus, and I'd been filled with the Holy Spirit as a teenager, been baptised, spoke in tongues, you know, all those kind of things. But as I hit those years after high school, you know, I graduated from high school, I hit those late teenage, early 20 years, I kind of, I don't know, I found myself longing for deeper kind of relationships. I didn't fit in at church. I didn't fit in anywhere really, you know. And so I decided to, you know, to outsource some friends, and in doing so, I kind of fell into the wrong crowd. Yeah, I guess you'd say. And you know, so I think I was about 20. It was, you know, just after the year 2000, I left the church. You know, and it was an easy thing because I was part of a leadership team for Royal Rangers, which is like a church-based scout group that you know, I was bringing up young kids in that, and but I was also going out and drinking on the weekends, and I felt like a bit of a hypocrite. So I kind of decided that my flesh won in that case, and you know, I left the church, and yeah, that kind of led me into a 20-year cycle of just darkness and drugs, addiction, violence, jail, many things, you know. Like, it was I found myself in this cycle where, you know, I grew up wanting a wife and kids and all those things, you know, but they weren't happening for me. So the longer they didn't happen for me, the more I got dragged into this world of darkness, you know. And yeah, it wasn't easy. It was 20 years of being hurt, being abused, you know, loneliness, anger, fear, and yeah, you know, in that process of that, I spent so I mentioned before, I spent a couple of times. I've spent two sentences in prison, and they were, you know, they were eye-opening, and in the process of that, I've had two beautiful children that I now, I have my son full time, and I have my daughter week on, week off, and you know, like that they all came out of the darkest moments of my life. But you know, it got to a point of, there was 20 years of that, 20 years of addiction. You know, like, I had friends murdered. God stopped me from murdering people. You know. He's never left me in those 20 years. He was always walking beside me, you know. Like, it was my decisions that led me to go down this path, and I just realised that God, that Jesus that I knew when I was younger, that he never left my side. It's only through hindsight that I realise that now. You know, I look back at the times where God's just actually interjected himself into my life and dragged me out of the pits of hell. You know, because that was the only place I was. That was the only place I was going with the lifestyle I was leading. You know, not only was addicted to drugs, I was selling drugs. I sold drugs for 15 years, methamphetamine mainly. That led to selling guns. You know, like, and getting that yearning I had for a relationship, I was finding in the wrong people, and those people were letting me down time and time again. And it come to about a year ago. Yeah, it was August last year, 2022, where I was, I'd just run from the police. I just evaded police in a stolen car. I had pockets full of money, pockets full of drugs, and I found myself at the pub at 2 o'clock in the morning, just wondering how I got myself to this low point again, you know, because I was in that cycle again. And I was at the part of the cycle where I was like, well, what am I doing? Why am I here again? You know, like, I've been here before, and it's not where I want to be. It's where everything bad in my life happens. So I was actually just sitting at the front of the sitting out the front of the pub minding my own business, kind of in my own thoughts, and this security guard kind of pegged me. He was looking at me strange, and I thought, in my mind, I literally just ran from the police. I was full of adrenaline, sitting at the pub, and this guy, I thought he knew what had been happening. You know what I mean? Like, I still had the stolen car at the pub, and I was still, I was sitting there wondering, what's this guy's problem? And he came over to me, and he opened with starting to ask me about his favourite 50s boxer, but that was just his in route to come and have a chat to me. And after talking about his boxer for about 5-10 minutes, he shared a little bit about his testimony and how he had a near-death experience in a car crash that he had, and how in that moment he had a vision of Christ. Jesus visited him in his unconscious state, and he then continued to talk to me about how he reads his Bible every night. And he had a YouVersion Bible on the app on his phone. And he pulled that out and he started showing me how he's ticking off each verse, each chapter he'd been reading over the years. And in that moment, I didn't think much of it. I just thought, just another Jesus freak cruising around, doing his thing. But it planted a seed that night that I couldn't shake. And that caused me to reflect over the past 20 years of darkness that I've been living in, and I started to think about it again. I'm like, well, I'm looking for this relationship, and I'm not finding it in any human, So, and God created us for a relationship. He wanted a relationship with us. That's why he created, Adam and Eve in the garden. He walked with them daily. He wanted to have a relationship with us as humans, and I was trying to find that relationship that I could only have with him in other people, and that's how I got let down time and time again, But in the year so that seed that security guard planted that night, I ended up going to visit my uncle in Tasmania a couple of weeks later, and at the men's prayer meeting on a Tuesday morning, I decided to give my life back to Christ then, and since then, so that was a little bit over a year ago. Since then, I've just actually last week graduated my first year of Bible college, got my diploma in Christian Studies, and it's just been a year spent seeking after God, and realising that he never left me. It didn't matter where I was in life or what I was doing. It was in my darkest moments. It was in those moments where I'm on my way to go commit murder that he interjected himself and stopped me from doing those things that would have changed me for life. You know what I mean? They would have sentenced me to death and an eternity of hell, which is an eternity without God. And not only in that year of seeking him that I've spent, he's restored my family. My relationships with my folks is so much better. I've got my son back in my life, which was he wasn't part of my life for a long period there. My daughter's just amazing. She loves Jesus with all her heart too. She's because God's not just a God for me. He's a generational God. He changes generations. He saves generations. He it's not just about me. It's about what's to come. And for the first time in a long time, I'm excited about the future. So. I hope that encourages some people out there. If there's anyone out there that's got you've got family, it might be a son, a daughter, a brother, a sister, or even a mother and father that are lost, there's always hope. Never lose hope. And I know that it's got a lot to do with the intercessory prayer that my parents did for years for me. But God just had me pegged from day one. He never left me. I tried my hardest to run away from him, but there's always hope. So, thank you.